All right, guys, welcome to Character Corner. This is a feature here on Source Gaming where we go over different franchises and talk about possible characters that we would like to see and that we think may happen from that franchise in Smash Brothers. Today we have one that you guys have been requesting for a while in Pokemon. And to discuss that, we have myself, Spazzy. We have one of our writers, Liquid.
Hey.
And a special guest today, RogersBase.
Hi-de-ho, what's going on, everybody?
All right, and this one should be interesting because I think we have people at different levels of Pokemon fandom here. Roger's kind of, I'm not going to say he's Mr. Pokemon or anything, but he's much more of a hardcore Pokemon player. Liquid is somebody that plays the games, enjoys them, and I have actually never played a Pokemon game that doesn't have the word puzzle or snap in it. So
Really? You've
Heresy.
never even played one then?
I have never... As a friend of mine recently said when I made this confession on Twitter, he's all like, "It's because he already had a driver's license when the game came to the United States." I'm old, and I'm not excusing that. I'm just saying when the game came out, I was like, I don't know, 15, and I'm like, I don't know, this game looks like it's for kids. And then I've always like almost come back to play it, and I just never like took the dive in. And the new games, the new super casual games that like half the player base are hating on, probably going to be my first Pokemon. So
Well, that's awesome, because those are going to be based on Pokemon Yellow, which was actually my first Pokemon game, so you're looping everything around again.
yeah. Well, my girlfriend's a couple years younger than me, and she's like, "Oh, I used to love those games, those particular games. She used to love Pokemon Yellow, like on her Game Boy." So, and it's got co-op. She's like, "Oh, we should buy that." I'm all like, "Sure." So this will be my first Pokemon game. But leading into that, I was about to say I always do enjoy the Pokemon in Smash. So we'll have a little bit of that perspective. We're gonna start, I think, with the character that, as someone that doesn't know anything about Pokemon, I hear the most about, and that's Decidueye. And he's a bird and he's an archer. That's what I know about him, and I think he looks cool.
He's an owl, specifically. It's a big deal, because owls are my favorite types of birds.
This is factual.
All right, my apologies. All right, so what do you guys think of Decidueye, his chances, what he could add to Smash, that sort of thing?
Yeah. I mean, well, he was awesome in Pokken. I was really happy when they added him in Pokken. And I know one of the big things with Decidueye is so many people say, we already have the fire starter with Charizard. We have Greninja, who represents the water starters. We need a grass starter. And I think back in the days of Brawl and Smash 4, a lot of people really wanted Sceptile. But Sceptile wasn't really super popular anywhere outside of the anime at that point. Like, obviously, he was a big grass starter for the Hoenn generation, but I don't think he had as much going for him as Decidueye. And Decidueye was designed right in the middle of when development for this game happened, or at the very least, Sun and Moon came out right around the time the development started. So Decidueye is probably a character that Sakurai got early access to, similar to what happened with Greninja. So I do think of any of these Sun and Moon Pokemon, Decidueye probably has the best chance. And it probably really helps him that he's already playable in Pokken. Ash has a Rowlet in the anime. I do think there are a couple other Sun and Moon Pokemon that are maybe a little more popular than him that could potentially make it in. But I do think Decidueye, if you're going to go through any of the Sun and Moon Pokemon, is probably the safest bet.
What about you, Liquid?
I mean, I can't say anything that Roger didn't just say, but yeah. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like, Decidueye seems like the safe inclusion. And personally, it's not the Sun and Moon Pokemon I would choose. More on that later, but it feels the most seamless kind of inclusion that you could make from the Pokemon from Gen 7.
I'll say this. Once again, don't know that much about Pokemon, don't care that much. I am OCD enough, though, that I know the starting triangle, and it would be pretty great to have a grass starter in there just to complete that. And I don't think we have any pure archers in Smash.
No, we don't.
Just in general. Yeah, I guess if they revamped Link to be a little bit more like Breath of the Wild, he might have more of that in him. But right now, we have, Link, the Pits have that as a neutral special. God, am I even missing anybody else that has? I mean, Young Link, but or Team
Yeah,
Link.
but beyond those, I don't think there are any other Archer characters. Yeah, I mean, it would be really cool for the reveal trailer for Decidueye. We get Decidueye versus Pit in like a sniper Archer battle. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping we get full on like character specific trailers. And I'm kind of wondering. I know this is kind of an aside, but I'm wondering if we're gonna get just like Brawl style, like here's a bunch of characters at once. But I'm cool with that too. Okay, so I guess we've said all we're gonna say about Decidueye. I guess he's also a ghost type.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything in his move list, though? How would that really affect him as a playable character in any way?
Well, so his primary like Ultra, it's not Ultra move, but his primary Z move is a ghost type move. And so I assume that would probably be his final smash if he was included into the game. I think it's called like 1,000 Arrows or something. I forgot. It's been a little while since I played Sun and Moon.
Okay.
But yeah, his final smash is a ghost type move as well. So that would be the first time that would be showcased in Smash. And again, I just think he looks cool. And he looks as if he was designed from the get-go to be in a fighting game. It seems like they put Greninja in Smash Brothers. They were designing these starters for Sun and Moon, and they were like, if they really want to put a grass type starter in Smash Brothers, maybe we can make this really cool Archer kind of character. So
Yeah, I'll say this: he was picked for Pokken for a reason. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, speaking of ghosts, let's move on to number 2, which is Mimikyu, which is like a ghost Pikachu thing. Once again, that's my knowledge of the character.
I mean, Mimikyu to me seems like it would be the perfect Pokeball Pokemon, because the way Mimikyu works is basically you get a free hit. It works almost like a free substitute, where you get hit with an attack, and then Mimikyu's little head sort of tilts down to the side, and then you could actually hurt Mimikyu. So I'm thinking that maybe if Mimikyu's incorporated in Smash Brothers at all, it'll be inside of a Pokeball, where basically you throw the Pokeball, Mimikyu comes out, and then, Mimikyu can maybe eat up an attack for you. Like somebody ends up shooting a projectile at you or something, and Mimikyu sort of stands in front of you as a shield and then takes that first attack. Or it could just go full on crazy, kind of like how Mimikyu is in the anime, and do Shadow Claw and rip everything up. I would love to see Mimikyu in there, because I think it'd be fun to have like a playable rival for Pikachu, like one that would actually really make sense, considering how much Mimikyu genuinely hates Pikachu and wants to be like Pikachu because everyone loves him. But at the same time, again, I feel like Mimikyu would be the perfect Pokeball Pokemon, and I feel like of every Pokemon in this list, if we don't get a Pokemon reveal at E3 for Smash Brothers, I feel like we may actually know if Mimikyu is in the game, because I feel like they'll probably have items on in some versions of playing Smash at E3, and most likely if we end up seeing a Pokeball, we'll end up seeing some Sun and Moon characters in there. So
Mimikyu is my second most wanted Pokemon from Gen 7 to join Smash, but I've been thinking it over, and I think it would make more sense as a Pokeball summon, because that would be an interesting way of perhaps incorporating a substitute-like effect from the games into Smash. Protection from one single hit, no matter how strong it is. I think that'd be a pretty nice summon. But either way, I like Mimikyu a lot. Man, I would be pretty happy to see it come in. If only for its ridiculous song. I love that song, unironically.
I do too.
All right, guys, let's move on to the next one, which is Lycanroc. And I know some stuff about this guy because Delsathan talks about him all the time. Like, all the time in our Discord.
That video was, by
yes.
the way, incredible that he did.
Yeah.
The whole, both of those roster videos and also the whole video detailing Lycanroc.
And I think Lycanroc's pretty cool. He seems like a very good boy. He is a dog. He is, I personally, think it's interesting that it's a character that you don't even know, because which Lycanroc would you use? I know he went into that, but as you guys know Pokemon, you guys talk about it. I don't really know.
I assume they would use the one that Ash has in the anime. That's my guess. And that maybe it would have it wouldn't have a transforming aspect, I don't think, because Lycanroc, once you evolve it, it stays that version of Lycanroc. So I'm curious if maybe they would just incorporate some type of way to transform. I don't know how really they would make it work. I can't remember his video because he laid it out really well. So if you're listening to this right now, go watch his video, because the Lycanroc video he did was really, really good. But I'm not really sure. I'm assuming it would be the version from the anime, though.
You know what? I'm actually going to include a link to his video in this video, so you can go see it.
Perfect.
Yes, you should.
Perfect. You should.
Yeah, because he does that character more justice than anyone here can. He's like
Absolutely.
a champion for that character. All right, let's move on to a character that I don't know what it is, but it has a funny name, and that's Tapu Koko. Coco.
The electric chicken.
That's
Ow.
right.
I do like electric chickens, so that sounds lovely. But we already have an electric type.
Yeah.
So who cares?
I also feel like the Guardians of Alola are sort of in their own like realm. I think there's a lot of options with Sun and Moon. There's a lot of options that would actually represent a lot of different aspects of Pokemon. And I'm going to say this right now. I don't know if we're going to get into this like later in the video or something. I'm calling it now. I think we're getting 2 newcomers from Pokemon in this Smash Brothers game. I think the last time that happened was Brawl, right? Because Smash 4 brought back Mewtwo, but the only new one really, even though they separated Charizard, was Greninja. And I feel like a lot has happened with Pokemon in recent years, both with a resurgence of sort of the nostalgic original generation with Pokemon Go, and then now Pokemon Let's Go, but then also with the success of Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon did incredibly well. We also have Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which I wasn't particularly a huge fan of, but introduced a lot of other cool like story elements to those games, and also like incorporate a lot of the stuff with the Ultra Beasts. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Guardians of Alola, Decidueye is maybe the starter, Lycanroc is sort of that like anime popular character. Sort of the same thing goes with Mimikyu, like a fan favorite. You've got the Ultra Beasts, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit, and then Tapu Koko representing the Guardians. So yeah, I feel like if they were going to add any of the Guardians, Tapu Koko would make the most sense. But at the same time, I feel like there are a lot of other Pokemon from Sun and Moon that would make more sense if they were just going to add one character from Sun and Moon.
All right, makes sense to me. I have nothing else to add about that character. Not even a
Well,
little.
strictly speaking, in terms of legendaries, at least in the original Sun and Moon, it's worth noting that Tapu Koko is the legendary with the most screen time in the game. Like, it comes out to defend some old fat man when the Ultra Beasts invade. It's the ones that's shown in the beginning and around the middle. It's the one that saves you from the falling bridge that would have killed you. I mean, and it got some time in the anime as well, so I mean, I could totally see them including Tapu Koko based on that. And this is the character I want most from Sun and Moon, because I really like this thing. And to hell with the fact we have another electric type, I want this thing a lot.
It also has the perfect final smash, which is Z-move, because the Z-move for the Guardians, where basically they lock their arms together to make like a totem head, and they go on the top of that giant Doshin the Giant looking thing. I mean, it seems perfectly suited as a final smash.
Yes.
All right, I think we're going to move on to one that Roger really wanted us to talk about, which is Buzzwole. So
I brought Buzzwole up because I looked at this list that you guys put in the Discord chat, and that was the one thing that sort of stood out to me, is that you didn't have an Ultra Beast listed. And I do think sort of what I just brought up earlier, the stuff with the Guardians and the fan favorites and the new starter, I do think that if they do want to represent something that's very unique about the Sun and Moon generation, it's the Ultra Beasts. Now, they could very well just go with an item, the Ultra Beast Ball or whatever it's called, the Beast Ball, the little blue Pokeball from those games.
The Beast Ball.
Yeah, exactly. And we already have like Master Balls in the game that could summon legendary Pokemon, so I could see maybe the Beast Ball summoning Ultra Beasts if they really wanted to throw that in there. But if they wanted a playable one, I do think that of all of the Ultra Beasts, the one that would make the most sense to me is Buzzwole. He's this giant, fighting, cool-looking insect dude who is completely jacked, would be a great like grappler-type character. And I don't know, I love his design. I think he's really funny and would be a great character to throw into Smash Brothers.
yeah, I think any sort of grappler would be an awesome addition to Smash. I know it's not on this list, but I know people bring up Incineroar as well.
Yeah.
And he's a wrestler.
And the thing about Incineroar, too, going back to what we were talking about with Decidueye, is even though Decidueye is in Pokken, Incineroar is actually much more popular in Japan. People love Rowlet, but Decidueye is not as popular as Incineroar is. And maybe we could talk about that a little bit later with one of the other things that's listed on here, but I have a way that they can maybe incorporate both of them.
I think I know where you're going with this.
There you go.
All right, next let's talk about okay, so there's this awesome phenomenon with Nintendo fans when it comes to Smash. where we only have a short-term memory. So whenever a Smash game is coming out and then something new gets announced, we don't think about, any sort of development cycle or anything. We're all like, oh my god, Sushi Striker for Smash. That's just how...
Bandwagon.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it works. And this next character kind of smacks of that, but also, once again, as somebody that only casually knows Pokemon, makes sense to me popularity-wise, and that's Eevee with the new games.
Yeah. We talked about this a little on Japan Time last night, actually, we discussed the possibility of having Eevee as a playable Pokemon. And some people brought up on the show that, Eevee's already a Pokeball Pokemon, but that didn't stop Charizard from eventually becoming playable. So I don't think you should, write off Eevee as potentially being a new playable fighter just because Eevee's been in Pokeballs before. And in terms of a moveset, that is a character that I think could basically transform in a unique way. For anybody who read the Pokemon manga, there was a special Eevee that every time it touched a stone could temporarily turn into that one version of its evolution. So, it was an Eevee that if it touched a Firestone could become Flareon, but then if it spit out the Firestone, it would go back to being Eevee. I could see them doing that for Eevee if it was going to be made into a main playable character in Smash Brothers, or maybe its side special is Flareon, its up special is Jolteon, and it does a quick attack or something. Its down special is Vaporeon with acid armor. But I could basically see it transforming Eevee, and then Eevee, it should also be brought up, is one of the very few Pokemon that has a signature Z move, just like Tapu Koko and some of the other Pokemon that we brought up earlier. And I could easily see that Z move being incorporated as its final smash, because it's very similar to another final smash that's already in Smash Brothers, which is Mega Man, where Mega Man basically summons all the other versions of himself to do a beam attack. And that's what Eevee's attack is. It summons all the other versions of the evolutions, and then it uses this giant beam attack. So I could see that maybe being incorporated as the final smash as well. And
Super Fighting Pokemon,
yeah.
Eevee.
Yeah. And on top of all of that, too, I know you're talking about the development cycle and how it might have been unlikely that, even though Eevee's new right now, that they would have even been thinking about Eevee during the development cycle for these games. But I have a feeling that even at the time of the development of this Smash Brothers, they still knew about Pokemon Go. And obviously Pokemon Go at the very beginning was heavily rooted in that first generation of Pokemon. And while a lot of people want to see other generations represented in Smash, because we already have a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon with Jigglypuff and Mewtwo and Charizard and Pikachu, ultimately, for those casual players, those original 151 are still the most iconic. And I do think that if Eevee's been turned into a mascot for one of the upcoming games, and is obviously part of that original 151 and has the potential for a really unique moveset, transforming into all the different evolutions, I actually think Eevee has a better shot than pretty much anything else on this list, aside from maybe two of them.
I honestly still think this is sort of a bandwagon situation. That is a completely valid argument, and admittedly, I like Eevee, but not enough to actually want it over Gen 7 Pokemon, but that's totally valid. Let's just hope that if it actually does get in, well, the internet isn't set on fire.
I don't think it would be. Don't you think that mainstream Smash people would actually really enjoy it?
Okay. That depends on what you mean by mainstream.
Well, okay, so what I mean is casual players who are only familiar with the classic Nintendo characters, who maybe have been away from these franchises for a while. And going back to something else that we actually haven't even talked about, we kind of skipped over Lycanroc, but I think this is really important, is when they cut Ivysaur from Smash 4, obviously he was in Brawl, but then was cut from Smash 4 when they separated Charizard as his own character, we lost something that I thought was really special, and that's a quadruped fighter. We don't really have any fighters that run, other than the Duck Hunt Dog. Now, the Duck Hunt Dog was added into Smash 4, but beyond the Duck Hunt Dog, we don't have really any other characters that run on all four legs. And I do think...
What about Donkey Kong?
Well, I don't count Donkey Kong. You could...
What about Pikachu sometimes?
Pikachu sometimes, sure. But I think a character that primarily fights while it's on all four legs, because Pikachu obviously stands up to do other attacks and sort of has its side attacks. There are a few exceptions, but I do feel like it was the only real Pokemon that fought almost entirely on the ground. And I thought that's what made Ivysaur unique, and I think they could maybe do something similar with Eevee. Or Lycanroc.
It would be interesting, but the thing is, Ivysaur was able to hold items because it had vines. So it would be interesting to see how they would figure out a way. I mean, it's not obviously it's not
Eevee
impossible.
has a tail.
Eevee does have a tail.
Eevee has a
You are
giant
correct.
fluffy tail, as do all of his evolutions.
I'll say this about Eevee, and this is once again, I'm not a big Pokemon person, but the entire gimmick of that character is the fact that it has multiple evolutions, and I think if you take that gimmick away, it becomes kind of a boring Pokemon.
Agreed.
What you're suggesting is that they incorporate it into the moveset, and that would be cool, but I don't know if that's a Sakurai move, because it's something that would reference the anime, which he's done before with Pokemon. But more than that, he likes to kind of keep a canon to the game, to the original game's canon. He likes to keep characters a certain way. And that's so far from how the character functions in the actual game that I don't know if he would do it.
I will counterpoint that by saying that Eevee, just based on the Let's Go trailer, where you see like Pikachu dressed up in all those other outfits, Eevee is also given all these other special outfits. And to me, I feel like, and again, we don't know Sakurai or like what documents he had access to or not. To me, when I saw that, I was like, I bet you if Sakurai got information about these new games, he probably saw the design documents for these costumes. And because we talked about this on the Japan time that you were a part of, Sakurai specifically had that interview with Masuda-san where they talked about the idea of dressing up certain Pokemon now for the games. And so right away, when I saw that Eevee had those clothes on, I'm like, oh my God, maybe he wasn't referencing Pikachu with, having a Detective Pikachu outfit or something like that. Maybe he was also referencing Eevee. And we had the Project Eevee Twitter that started quite a while ago. I mean, they've really been pushing Eevee for the better part of a year now. And I do think that he probably was privy to that information and knew that there was going to be a remake of that generation.
There's certain franchises where I know that here in Source Gaming we make a big deal. I know Nintendex and Push Dustin in particular do about the development cycle and when the dev plan was started and this and that. But there's certain franchises that Sakurai obviously has a lot of information on and will obviously get design documents early on and doesn't mind. Pokemon's one of those he doesn't mind being like, oh, obviously there's going to be a big push for Eevee in 2 years. This has been in the works forever. So I agree with you on that. I also kind of bring up, like, I don't know, there could be the new Fire Emblem protagonist could very easily be in this game. Once again, not this character corner. But that's just kind of the way.
No, shoo. We don't want people legitimately suggesting Aegislash. Go away.
Oh, swords.
Not another sword character, please.
Sword
Could you
Anything but
imagine?
that.
Oh my God, if they put Aegislash in, that would be so funny.
Oh, man. Kind of worth it, to be honest with you.
Man,
All right,
it would be worth it for the troll alone.
Let's move on to, I think, the thing that you were referencing earlier. And that is the concept of a Pokemon trainer and maybe a brand new Pokemon trainer based off of this last gen.
Yeah, so the whole reason Pokemon Trainer was cut was because obviously they cut transforming characters. And it would have been weird to have that running on 3DS. And so I do think because the trainer is such an important part of the Pokemon lore and the Pokemon universe, it was great to have that represented in a playable character in Brawl. And because they're probably going to bring transforming characters or multiple characters like Ice Climbers in some way back into this game, I still feel like Sheik and Zelda will probably be separated, but I have a feeling that maybe Zero Suit and Samus will be consolidated once again, or maybe we're going to, like I said, see a new Pokemon trainer. If they end up doing that, I could see that going a bunch of different ways. Because, one, you could do an Alolan Pokemon trainer and have Rowlet and Incineroar both in that trainer's moveset. And both of those characters are extraordinarily popular. You would have to put the middle form of Poplio in there, I'm assuming, if you're going to put Rowlet and you're going to put Incineroar. And I don't know how people would feel about that. But I do feel like if they want to incorporate both of those really popular starter Pokemon, they could do that with a new Alolan Pokemon trainer. Or what they could do is, because obviously it wouldn't make a lot of sense. Well, I don't know. I was going to say it wouldn't make a lot of sense to bring back Squirtle and Ivysaur and put them into the trainer. But then again, we're getting a Gen 1 remake now. So that kind of goes against what I was saying earlier. But my idea is that you put Charizard back in with a Pokemon trainer character, and you put Greninja with the Pokemon trainer character as well. You'll have a fire type, you'll have a water type, and then you develop Decidueye, and you put Decidueye in along with Charizard and Greninja. So the Pokemon trainer cycles between 3 generations of starters: a fire starter, a water starter, and a grass starter. And then everybody's
That's
happy.
the most genius thing I've heard in a while.
Because everybody would be happy. You'd bring back the Pokemon Trainer, which is something that people wanted. You could add in Decidueye without taking up an entire other slot, while still bringing back another character and adding in an additional character if they really wanted to, if they want to make another Pokemon character, by maybe throwing in Eevee, or putting in one of the Ultra Beasts, or throwing in one of the Guardians, or even Lycanroc or Mimikyu.
I mean, as long as they kind of fix some of the issues with Pokemon Trainer, as far as stamina
Yeah,
goes,
I was going to get to that.
And kind of the speed of switching characters out and a few other things. And I think the philosophy behind Pokemon Trainer was kind of weird, where, I mean, I understand it. You know, this is a character that knocks characters out. This is a character that racks up damage, whatever.
Sure.
But it didn't really work. It was good in theory. In practice, it doesn't work. I feel like Zelda was another one where they're like, oh, Sheik's supposed to be the one that racks up damage, and Zelda goes for the KOs, but it doesn't really work. I think you have to make all of the characters within Pokemon Trainer viable. I think there's a lot of ways to do Pokemon Trainer. I mean, if they want, they could actually just throw the Pokemon Trainer in the background for any Pokemon you pick. I mean, they could just do that if they wanted.
Yeah.
Your idea, it's an interesting one. I mean, I guess if we lose another counter move that Greninja has, I don't think anyone's going to cry.
Right. And they literally added
Too many
added a
counters.
down B for Charizard in Smash 4, so they could very easily just take that out again.
Yep. Okay. I think those are the characters that we had on our list. But I do want to bring something else up, and it's related to what you said. So, what about cut Pokemon? Do you think that there's any reason to bring back a Squirtle or a Pichu or anything like that?
No.
Yeah, I'm with Liquid on this. I don't think there's a need for it. I think there's so many other Pokemon that they could throw in there that are maybe not more recognizable than someone like Squirtle or Pichu or Ivysaur, but that would be more interesting. I think Sakurai is always going to go for the creative choice than the safe choice, which is why I think something like a evolution transforming Eevee or a new Pokemon trainer that, you know, consolidates some of the other Pokemon into it, or something that represents the Ultra Beasts or the Guardians, or even, you know, throwing in, like I said, a fan favorite like Decidueye or Mimikyu or Lycanroc or Incineroar, who would all be new interesting archetypes. You've got Incineroar like a wrestler, a Lycanroc again running on all four legs, Mimikyu being this maybe potential like Pikachu clone slash like really angry slash counter Pokemon. I don't know how they're gonna work Mimikyu if they're gonna make Mimikyu a playable character. There's a lot of different ways they could throw him in. And then of course Decidueye being an archer character. I think they each sort of fill their own role, and I do think that Sakurai usually looks more towards creativity than just being like, oh, I'm just gonna bring back somebody that I think maybe some people would like. Unless he sort of redoes the moveset. But even then, I don't know if he's going to bring back like a Squirtle or an Ivysaur or Pichu even as like a DLC character and then have people buy those characters separately. Like, I don't think there's enough people clamoring to play Pichu or Squirtle or Ivysaur again. And I'm not saying there's not fans. I'm sure there are. But I don't think there's quite enough people to dedicate extra time into reworking those characters and making them DLC when there's so many other characters that were on the fighter ballot and that people are talking about that they want in the game that they could spend development time on.
I mean, I'll say this.
Sounds about right.
That I feel like Pikachu is due another clone. He's such a big character. And I mean, there's plenty of characters they could. I mean, there's plenty of Pokemon that are Pikachu-like. But yeah, from the original characters, I think the only ones that currently don't have clones are Samus, Yoshi, and Pikachu. Am I right on that?
Samus? Yeah, Samus, Yoshi, Pikachu. Well, Donkey Kong
Yeah.
doesn't have a clone.
Donkey Kong does not. I mean, he's gonna have a funky clone this time around.
Fox,
but
Mario. Who else was on that original Link?
I guess Jigglypuff.
But Mario has a
Jigglypuff
clone,
also
though.
does not have a clone.
No.
Yes. Until Rowlet.
Right.
Jigglypuff clone. All right, so I guess that's it. We're about to wrap up here. Unless you guys have any particular Pokemon, and this isn't a character that you think that you like should be in the game or you think has a chance. Any Pokemon at all that if you could talk to Sakurai and he'll say you can put any Pokemon in right now. Doesn't matter which one it is. Who would you put in?
I'm gonna let Liquid go because my choice is very bizarre, and I've known this since day one.
Okay. Golurk. I would totally drop everything and main Golurk in a Smash game. This is this is the best Pokemon ever, honestly. It's a flying golem robot thing that can detach its arms and punch stuff. I like this Pokemon. I would totally include it in Smash if I had the choice to.
Oh my god, Golurk is actually an amazing choice. Golurk would be really cool. Mine, everyone's going to disagree with. I already know it. It's just my favorite Pokemon. And I mean, if Sakurai was like, you could add any Pokemon to the game and I will make this a playable character. Sakurai, man, make Lickitung playable. Put Lickitung in the game.
What tarnation?
Make him playable. You can have his grabs all be his tongue. He picks people up and throws them. I just like, there's so many things that his final smash could incorporate the mini game from Pokemon Stadium with the sushi, where you could have like these giant lines of sushi. Maybe the sushi striker guy could cameo in his final smash, and it goes, hello, fight! Oh, and then like Lickitung eats a bunch of sushi and then blows fire when he eats the spicy ones. Man, Lickitung for Smash Brothers, please.
All right. And for me, since I don't really know Pokemon, I'm gonna go with what was it called? Aegislash, the giant sword.
Oh yeah.
Because it would troll a lot of people, and that would make me happy because I'm a very mean-hearted person. So, anyways,
well, wait, before we wrap up, I'm curious what you guys think about this, because we briefly touched on this, but I'm curious to know: do you think we are going to get more than one Pokemon newcomer? I think we all agree we're definitely going to get at least one new Pokemon character, but do you think we're going to get two this time around?
Yes, I think we can very much get two at this point, because, Pokemon's been doing great for itself over the past few years. Both versions of Sun and Moon, now we're getting a Gen 1 remake, now we're getting Gen 8 next year. I mean, I wouldn't rule out even Pokemon in the base game, and then later on Generation 8 Pokemon in DLC. Who knows? But I think we could definitely get two. In some form.
Probably. I wouldn't put money on it, but I think it's likely that we'll get two. It depends, I guess, on the total number of newcomers. It's kind of hard for me to like say anything because I don't know if we're getting 5 newcomers or 15,
I think if we get 5, then it'll probably only be 1. But if we get 15, I think it would almost assuredly be 2.
Right, that's a safe bet, and I'd agree with you. I think Pokemon's a franchise that's due, kind of. Right now, it has. I'm sorry for talking about Fire Emblem again, and Fire Emblem obviously is a franchise that is better represented with lots of characters, but so is Pokemon, and right now they have an equal number of reps, and Pokemon is absurdly larger than Fire Emblem, so it can maybe use a couple extra reps to put it maybe on par with the Mario franchise where it kind of deserves to be. All right, so I think that about wraps it up. As per usual, I think we're going to have some franchises over here that you guys can vote on in the comments for our next character corner. I don't know what they are, but you will, because they will totally be visible to you. I want to thank Roger for joining us on this.
Thank you very much for having me.
Anytime, man. Would you like to plug your stuff?
Sure. You can find me on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, and on Instagram as RogersBase, RogersBase. I just did a live reaction to that Let's Go trailer yesterday. That was a lot of fun. And look forward to some E3 reactions from me. I do it every year. It's always a highlight of my year. And I'll be at E3, so I'm going to be recording some footage of this new Smash game and uploading that to my main channel as well, and my secondary channel, Game & Vlog, so check it out.
Awesome. Liquid, you wanna do a personal plug here? Where can people find you?
On Twitter, at Liquid12A. I mostly just retweet stuff, and that's it.
All right, and as always, you can find me at 8bit_Spazzy. Follow at AllSourceGaming. Go to sourcegaming.info. This YouTube you're on right now, all that stuff is where you can find me and find more Source Gaming content. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this talk, and always come back to the source. Bye.